Hey trainers, ClyFox here to give you a rundown on the new Sylph Arena Cup, the Nightmare Cup. I'm a little late on this, but I think that I can provide a little bit of insight that some people might be interested in that others weren't providing. The Nightmare Cup is focusing on Dark, Fighting, and Psychic type Pokemon, which is unusual because we have 3 types instead of 4, but I think that it makes it a little bit more interesting and the meta's a little bit more viable and there are more Pokemon that you can use because there's 3 types to use. Some people are calling it a rock, paper, scissors match, but I think that there's still a lot of versatility in the 3 types available. It's also worth noting that there are bans on some Pokemon in this cup. You cannot use legendaries, mythicals, Sableye, or Medicham in this cup, and that just enhances the versatility to the teams that you can bring that will work. Here's a type chart that you can use to cross-reference for any of the type advantages that you might find confusing. So here we see that Dark is not very effective against itself, not very effective against Fighting, and super effective against Psychic. Fighting is super effective against Dark, neutral to itself, and not very effective against Psychic. And then Psychic is not very effective times 2 against Dark because Dark is immune to Psychic. Psychic is super effective against Fighting and not very effective against itself. So my goal for this video now is just to break down some of the top picks that PvPoke has ranked for us in this cup. We're only looking at overall. We're going to look at leads, closers, attackers, and defenders as the month goes on, but we want to focus just now on a brief overview of some of the top picks. At the top of the list to cover is Spiritomb. It has the same typing as Sableye does, and though Sableye is banned, Spiritomb is not. Dark Ghost typing on Spiritomb makes it only weak to Fairy type moves, and neutral to a lot of other things in the cup, or resistant to. For example, it has a resistance to Fighting type moves because Ghost is immune to Fighting, but Dark is weak to it, and that cancels out to a 1x resistance. It's also immune to Psychic type attacks, and it's also neutral to Dark. One reason that Sableye was banned and Spiritomb wasn't is because Spiritomb's move pool is just not as impressive. It only has Dark type fast moves and Ghost type charge moves, so the range of things that it can hit for effective damage is basically Psychic type Pokemon, and that's it. I'd still highly recommend looking whether you want to invest in this Pokemon for this cup because its resistances and its typing are just phenomenal, and I think that you're still going to find that it works pretty well. Second up on our list today is Hitmonchan. The Fighting type Pokemon has Counter as a fast move, which puts it up pretty high up in the rankings when Dark is in the cup. Plus Counter does pretty good neutral damage to other fighting types. However, its charge move pool is just amazing. You can make it do whatever you want it to do. It gets Ice Punch and Thunder Punch for birds. It gets Fire Punch for neutral damage against most things in the cup. It also gets Power Up Punch, which is going to be the best secondary move that you want to bring in because it's just going to make that counter do so much damage against its opponents. It's going to be one of the top leads I'm expecting and something you're going to see very often. So I'd recommend looking into it. One thing to note about Hitmonchan though is that you're going to use a lot of charge TMs to get the move that you want, even if you get a second move, because its charge move pool is just super fast. And no, obviously I can't use this one in the cup. I'm trying to find one that I can use, but for now, this is the display I have for you. And again, I can't use this one in the cup because it's too high CP, but I'm using it for a display. I wanted to talk about Alolan Raichu. It's an electric psychic type, so it fits into the cup. While it has the charge move Psychic, you're really going to be using it as an electric attacker because Psychic is a pretty crappy charge move. You're going to be using its electric attacks to do neutral damage to just about everything in the cup. Plus, it's going to give you a super effective damage against things like Xatu and Murkrow and Honchkrow. Spark charges your charge moves really quickly too, so you're going to be surprised at how quickly it can fire off these charge moves and hit most of the Pokemon for some really big chunks of damage. It might not be on everybody's team, but I think it's something to at least look at when you're previewing the cup. Next up is Heracross. He's a bug and fighting type Pokemon, which puts him in the cup. He's a regional, which might make him a little difficult to find, but because most people go to Disney World in Florida for their summer breaks or spring breaks, you can usually find somebody to trade with. So his bug typing actually makes him resist fighting type moves, which gives him an edge on other fighting type Pokemon, but he's still going to be quite weak to Psychic, and he's pretty fragile when he gets hit with Confusion. And Confusion is the fast move that you really need to be looking out for on Psychics in this cup. However, if he can survive against the Psychic types, he does have Mega Horn, which is super effective against both Dark and Psychic type Pokemon, so that gives him a little bit of edge on other fighting types that don't quite get that coverage. I also highly recommend you actually look at a good move pool for him. This is not the recommended move set that you have for him. You'd probably be wanting to go with Counter, because again, Counter is just that strong in this cup. Next up we have Xatu. You don't have to have a shiny, but you do probably want one. He's a Psychic and Flying type Pokemon, which means that he double resists Fighting type moves, and he's one of the only Pokemon in the cup that can actually do this without a Ghost typing. Having both Flying type moves and Psychic type moves also gives him a lot of edge over Fighting type Pokemon, so he has the edge offensively as well as defensively. I think he's going to be something that most people are going to pick. I don't really need to talk too much about him. Though I mentioned that he has the Psychic type moves, you're probably going to end up wanting to run Air Slash, Ominous Wind, and Aerial Ace. The Flying type moves are going to give you enough coverage over Fighting that you don't need to bring Psychic, because those are going to be resisted by Psychic and Dark types. The Flying type moves give you a little bit better coverage. Having Ominous Wind gives you the occasional stat boost and gives you the edge up on some other Psychics because you'll resist Psychic and you have something that can go against it. It's not as good as Shadow Ball as some of the other Psychics get, but at least it's something. Throwing Wobbuffet here in the middle, it's kind of an interesting Pokemon. It's going to be ranked number 4 for attackers on PvPoke. It has like absolutely no move pool. You're going to want to run Counter and Mirror Coat on it. But it has quite a bit of bulk, as you can see by the HP shown on the screen, and this isn't even powered up and ready for the cup yet. However, because it has absolutely no other moves that you're going to run in this cup, it's got like no versatility. You throw it out and it's either going to do its job or it's going to fail. Interesting niche pick. If you want a Shiny Flex, you can Shiny Flex. Something that you can run if you want to without having to use a bunch of charge TMs and fast TMs. Shiftry is another interesting pick. It's ranked number 2 on the overall rankings on PvPoke. It has Razor Leaf, which is really why it's that high ranking. Razor Leaf does crazy tons of neutral damage. It doesn't give a lot of energy, but it's going to hit everything super hard. So it's something to look at. It gets some dark moves, it gets a Flying type move, which gives it a little bit of an edge against Fighting types, but I think it's fragile enough that it won't last that long. I think it's interesting. Play around with it, check on it. I haven't powered one up to test one yet, otherwise I'd definitely be bragging more about it or giving you more information. What I can give you right now is that its ideal moveset would be Razor Leaf, Leaf Blade, and Foul Play, so definitely check it out. Let me know what you think about it. I'm interested. We're closing in on the end here. We're going to talk about a few more Pokemon. We have Mr. Mime. He's a Psychic and Fairy type Pokemon, which means he's going to resist basically everything in this cup, or at least be neutral to it. For example, Dark type is going to be neutral, Psychic is going to be resisted, and Fighting is going to be double resisted. He has a pretty good move pool, pretty good defense stat, which is going to make him pretty interesting. However, he's a regional, so good luck getting him if you didn't hatch him in one of the egg events or have a friend from Europe that travels there or brings one back for you. One of the things that he does get is Confusion. That's going to make him a very strong Psychic type if you're going to use him that way. He also gets Shadow Ball, which is a crazy strong Ghost type charge move. And he gets Psybeam, which is a decent Psychic charge move, but you're going to most of the time be knocking out opponents with Confusion anyway if you're going to be using a Psychic type attack. I think that he's something that you should look at if you're willing to spend a bit of dust, a bit of candy to get the second charge move, and you're able to get one that's close enough to the range where you're not spending crazy amounts of it. He's a more defensive type Pokemon, again, so I probably wouldn't recommend counting on him to do a bunch of the work on your team, but he's something you can consider if you need it. Next up is Lucario. We don't need to talk too much about him. He's got Power Up Punch. He's going to resist Psychic type attacks as a Fighting type attacker, which gives him a little bit of an edge against other Fighting types. However, he's still very fragile. But hey, you've already powered one up from the Kingdom Cup, so you probably don't have to spend dust or candy to do anything with this Pokemon. So it's something you can reuse if you're looking to save up on it. I don't know if he's going to be that good in this cup yet. We're going to probably wait that one out and see. He's very strong. He's just... I don't think he's going to hold up against some of the other types. The last one I want to talk about is a Alolan Muck. He's going to be kind of hard for you to get if you're wanting to get him, but he does a pretty good job if you're able to. The only way to get him is by trading a hatched Alolan Grimer and hoping that he gets bad enough IVs that he can be evolved to under 1500. Another alternative, though, is that if you have an Alolan Grimer and you can't get the Alolan Muck under 1500, you can just power up the Alolan Grimer. It does basically the same job. Sometimes better, but I prefer honestly just to run with the Muck because it's cheaper, it's there, it does basically the same job. Because he's a Poison and Dark type Pokemon, he's going to take neutral damage from Fighting types, which gives him an edge over normal Dark types. You're going to be wanting to run Poison Jab, Dark Pulse, and Sludge Wave on him, but if you want to try it, you can actually run Acid Spray as a second move. Maybe you can get a strategic advantage there. It's going to take a lot of planning because Acid Spray is just such a bad move. I shouldn't say it's a bad move. I just mean that it's weak and it's very situational. You're going to lower your opponent's defense, which can help give you the win if they switch out. But if they don't switch out, then kind of probably wasted the energy you would have used on something that's more effective. I don't know. Give it a shot. Run with what you want. He does have 4 charge moves in his pool, which makes it a little hard to TM for the move that you want. But if you got the TMs and you want to play around with some strategy, give it a shot. There are a ton of other Pokemon that you can look at for this cup. I highly recommend you check out PvPoke. Look at what you are interested in. Look at what team you can make with that Pokemon. I'm really interested in seeing how this meta shapes out. I think that the bans are going to be very healthy for this environment. A lot of people are not happy because they powered one up or because they think that it's unfair. But I'm fascinated to see some of the Pokemon that have come out that actually have a chance now that might not have had a chance if we were all running Medicham and Sableye. Anyway, I hope that this overview has been helpful, at least to help you figure out what you might be looking at, what you might want to invest in as the cup comes forwards. If you have other opinions, if you have other things that you think I should look at, or maybe things that you want to see a future video on, please share in the comments, give this a thumbs up, subscribe, share with your friends. I'm ClyFox. Thanks for tuning in. Good luck in the Kingdom Cups and the Nightmare Cups coming up in about a half a month.